Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. My name is James Fatham and today I'm joined by Jose Garcia, CEO and Director of SilverX Mining. They trade on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the ticker AGX. Jose, it's great to see you today.
Likewise, James. Good to be with you. Thank you.
So let's kick things off with a quick overview of the company for our viewers who may not be familiar with SilverX. Can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch?
Totally. SilverX is a young junior mining company that is producing silver and is in a wonderful silver district in central Peru. And that's what investors should be looking for. Not only production, it's a solid company, but actually with a terrific growth potential. That's the value we bring.
So lots to discuss today, but I want to start with a brief overview of the project Geology. The Huachocolpa's geology is quite unique. Can you give us an overview of what you're seeing there?
Totally. Many silver projects are basically vein fields. The vein fields that we've put together over the last few years are just impressive. Let's say it's 20,000 hectares of land, more than 200 veins, 500 kilometers outcrops, containing really good grades of silver, gold, lead, and zinc. We are basically scratching the surface and very rapidly putting together a really good resource. I think SilverX's project or portfolio is going to become one of the largest underdeveloped silver projects in the Americas. And
we were just talking earlier about the altitude in Peru, and I'm wondering, can you speak to does the elevation of the project pose any kind of unique challenges, and what infrastructure is in place to support your operations there?
Yeah, most Peruvian mines are in very high elevation in the highlands. So our mines or our plant actually goes between 4,000 and 5,000 meters, basically 12,000 feet to 16,000 feet. And that's very common. So Peru is a country with good infrastructure for mining. There is local labor in our communities. There is roads, there is grid, so we need the power, and we get everything that it takes to operate.
And it's a unique story. I think you're an interesting mix of production and exploration and crucially resource expansion. Can you tell us, are there any kind of upcoming catalysts that might help to increase the size of the resource you're seeing?
Absolutely, yes. Since we went public, we've been doing two key components in terms of resource expansion. Of course, we've been drilling, but we've been also developing our mine. So in this kind of vein fields, you drill, find the structures with your mine, you run along them, and very quickly you can put together a very solid resource. SilverX is today a company with 15 million tons of really good grades, which is pretty impressive. And within the next few months, we expect to upgrade that by a large degree. Why is that? Because we've done a really good job over the last few months, and we expect a resource update, hopefully within Q3 or very early Q4. And that's going to be good, both in terms of quantity and quality.
And can you briefly discuss your Q1 production results?
Yes, Q1 was a very good quarter. Last year, we were ramping up our production steadily, producing more metal, optimizing our costs. We did a very good job in terms of cost reduction, and Q1 was not really the consolidation of that. Q1 was good. The company actually was above the water, which is great news for a junior producer, and we demonstrated that we are doing our homework. Q2 has been so far very good, and the results will be put out in the next few weeks once we finish the month of June.
Thanks so much for that overview. Can you give us a sense of current production capacity and where you're looking to scale that capacity limit to?
Absolutely, James. Our current production capacity is 700 tons a day, which is a very decent size for this kind of phase. However, our resource is so big and we expect it to grow so much that we are looking at scenarios to take these to a much larger capacity, potentially somewhere in between 2,000 and 3,000 tons a day. In other words, 3 to 4 times the current capacity. What are we doing for that? Expanding our resource, obviously developing our mine, and more importantly, we are in the final stages of new environmental instruments that will allow us to go from the current capacity to that expanded capacity. Those are the three key components: exploration, permits, and production.
And within each of those three components, are there any specific de-risking initiatives that you need to undertake in order to scale that production?
We are in a continuous de-risking process. More production, more metal, paying above the water, making money, and obviously doing that at the back of a growing resource. I think that's great. In terms of de-risking the project, as I said, we're going to make sure we have all the permits, we have the resource, and we are a proven team.
You touched earlier on having some agreements in place and having a local labor force and the importance of that. I understand you have a 15-year agreement in place with the local community as it relates to the development of this mine. Can you walk us through the components of that agreement and why it's so important for Silverheads?
Absolutely, which is one of our key and, let's say, not only key pillar, but one of the strongest pillars. Most of our labor force is from local communities or surrounding communities, right? And we had a great relationship with those communities. We cover two communities, or let's say our project covers two communities, Huachocolpa and Carapata, and we have both agreements for 12 and 15 years of both exploration and mining. I think that's great, and very few companies in Peru have been able to announce that over the last few months, so that gives stability to the project. But why is that we are getting there? Because we are demonstrating day after day that we work with the communities, not only by providing jobs, but we provide opportunities to local entrepreneurs, to business people, and also we're collaborating in areas like health and education. I think that Silverex, despite being a modest company in size, is doing really good activities for the communities, and that's part of our value as well to investors.
Yeah, always great to hear, and I think having the local community be a part of that process is going to be critical as you advance the story. Looking ahead beyond the upcoming production numbers, what other milestones could people expect throughout 2024?
I think Silverex is a relatively simple story. As I said, we are going to demonstrate that we can make money without money, and it's going to grow. It's going to make more money. We are demonstrating that we are growing our resource, and we are demonstrating that we have a great team, a team that is really hands-on, that demonstrated to build a company with very little resources, and now we're starting to fly. I think those three components make Silverex one of the most solid investment cases you can find, especially in the silver market. I think that's something really good for us for 2024. We're certainly looking forward to having a very good second half of the year.
Great. Well, Jose, looking forward to more updates throughout the year. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, James.